In the closing years of Japan's samurai era, when the old world clashed with the new, one woman's courage shone brighter than the flames of war. Nakano Takeko, a warrior of the Aizu Domain, stood resolute amid the turmoil of the Boshin War, a civil conflict that pitted the Tokugawa shogunate's loyalists against the rising Imperial forces of Emperor Meiji. While many saw the age of the samurai coming to an end, Takeko embodied its spirit one final time. Armed with her naginata, the traditional polearm of Japan's woman warriors, she led an extraordinary band of female fighters, known as the Jōshitai, or Women's Brigade. I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Storyblocks, the service I'm using to help me make this video. With Storyblocks, you get access to over 1 million assets, and you can download as much as you want. They offer everything in one place: 4K and HD video, templates, music, sound effects, images, and so much more. Their library is filled with authentic artist-created content, and everything you download is 100% royalty-free, pre-licensed, and ready to use. I use Storyblocks all the time for stock footage, overlays, and other graphics. Whenever I need for a project, Storyblocks lets me download it freely and use it in my own work. To get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/history profiles or click the link in the description. These women, though not officially recognized by the Aizu army, took up arms to defend their homeland and honor. As enemy troops closed in during the Battle of Aizu, Takeko fought fiercely on the front lines, her bravery and composure commanding the respect of all who witnessed her. In the chaos of combat, she was struck by a fatal bullet to the chest. Refusing to let the enemy claim her head, a samurai's greatest dishonor, she turned to her younger sister and asked to be beheaded, so that she might be buried under the trees of her beloved homeland. Her sister fulfilled the request, and there, beneath the autumn leaves of Aizu, Nakano Takeko's spirit found eternal rest. Nakano was one of the last female samurais, fearless, loyal, and willing to die by the samurai code. This is her story. Born in Edo in the year 1847, Nakano Takeko came from a distinguished samurai lineage. Her father was an official of the Aizu Domain. Takeko also had a younger brother and sister. From an early age, she displayed both intelligence and discipline. Well educated for a woman of her time, Takeko not only excelled in her studies, but also assisted in teaching younger pupils, including her own sister. It is believed that she began her martial arts training around the age of 6, a discipline that would later come to define her life and legacy. After completing her training, Nakano became a certified instructor, earning herself a position in the household of the Lady of Niwase. There, she served as a secretary and mentor, instructing her mistress in the elegant yet deadly art of the naginata, a traditional Japanese polearm with a gracefully curved blade. In the year 1863, Nakano was formally adopted by her martial arts teacher, strengthening their bond as both master and disciple. Together, they continued to teach the martial disciplines, and by February of the year 1868, Nakano had settled in the Aizu Domain, where she trained women in the use of the naginata. Her strong sense of justice was well known. One famous story tells how she personally apprehended men caught spying on the women's bathhouse, earning both admiration and respect for her courage and integrity. However, when Nakano was but a young woman, the seeds of the Boshin War were being sown. When Tokugawa Iemochi ascended to the position of shogun in the year 1858, and Emperor Meiji reigned in Kyoto, Japan was a nation trembling on the edge of transformation. The country had endured 2.5 centuries of peace under Tokugawa rule, but foreign ships now loomed on the horizon, and the old order struggled to withstand the pressures of a rapidly changing world. Iemochi, a boy of only 12, inherited the shogunate during one of the most turbulent chapters in its history. The powerful Naosuke, serving as regent, signed a series of unequal treaties with Western powers to prevent invasion, but he did so without imperial consent, violating a sacred political balance. This act ignited a storm of anger among the samurai class, particularly in the powerful western domains of Choshu and Satsuma, who began to rally under the slogan, "Revere the Emperor, expel the barbarians." Komei spoke openly against the shogunate's concessions to foreign powers. His court in Kyoto became a new center of influence, and for the first time in centuries, the imperial voice began to challenge the authority of the shogun. The emperor's call to restore national purity and honor found eager allies in the discontented domains. Meanwhile, Iemochi's government, weakened by internal division and public outrage, attempted to restore control through force. In the year 1864, the shogunate launched a punitive campaign against the Choshu domain, which had defied orders and attacked Kyoto. The rebellion was briefly crushed, but the victory was hollow, for the forces of the Choshu region quickly rebuilt, modernized its army with Western weapons, and returned stronger than before. 2 years later, Iemochi personally led another campaign, only for it to end in failure and exhaustion. He died in the year 1866, leaving the shogunate in disarray. Emperor Komei's death followed in the year 1867, and his son, the young Emperor Meiji, ascended the throne. The new emperor's youth and the symbolism of renewal electrified reformists across the nation. The last shogun, Tokugawa Yoshinobu, tried desperately to reform and modernize the shogunate, even offering to return governing power to the court in a bid to preserve peace. But the offer came too late. The Imperial loyalists saw an opportunity to restore full imperial rule and erase the shogunate once and for all. By January of the year 1868, the uneasy balance finally shattered. Imperial banners were raised over Kyoto, and the Boshin War began. During this turbulent period, the Aizu Domain stood firmly beside the Tokugawa shogunate, opposing the rising forces of the Imperial Meiji government. Under the leadership of its ninth lord, Matsudaira Katamori, Aizu's presence reached far beyond its northern borders. Katamori was appointed Kyoto Shugoshoku, the shogunate's chief military commissioner, charged with preserving peace and order in the imperial capital. In this role, he deployed a large contingent of Aizu troops to Kyoto, where they served as both protectors of the city and symbols of Tokugawa authority during a time of mounting unrest. Yet, as the Satsuma Choshu alliance seized control of the imperial court, and with Yoshinobu's resignation from power, the tides of history turned sharply against Aizu. The new imperial government denounced Katamori and his domain as enemies of the court. Despite this condemnation, Katamori strove earnestly to demonstrate Aizu's loyalty and willingness to submit to the new order. His efforts, however, were met with distrust and rejection. This would culminate in the Battle of Aizu. Nakano Takeko would soon find herself drawn into a desperate struggle to defend her homeland, not out of ambition, but because her lord, the daimyo of Aizu, had fallen out of favour with the new Meiji order and remained closely tied to the Tokugawa shogunate. At the Battle of Aizu, Nakano fought with unmatched courage, wielding her naginata and leading a band of warriors that included her mother and sister. At the time, Nakano was just 21 years old, her mother Koko in her 40s, and her younger sister Yuko was only 16. Though Tokugawa commanders had refused to allow women to join the official ranks, Nakano and her companions ignored these restrictions. Donning armor and taking up weapons, they entered the fray with fierce determination, proving that courage knows no gender. On the morning of October the 16th, in the year 1868, beneath the pale autumn sky at Yanagi Bridge in Fukushima, Nakano led her final charge. Facing the Imperial troops loyal to the Emperor, she and her band of women advanced without hesitation, their naginata blades flashing against the rifles aimed at them. For a brief, tense moment, the enemy hesitated when they realized their adversaries were women. Seizing this fleeting advantage, Nakano and her warriors surged forward, cutting down several soldiers with swift, precise strikes. Accounts tell that Nakano alone killed at least 5 enemy combatants before fate caught up with her. A bullet struck her in the chest, inflicting a mortal wound. Even in her final moments, her resolve remained unbroken. Determined to preserve her honor and deny the enemy the grim prize of her head, Nakano calmly turned to her beloved sister Yuko and requested to be beheaded. Through tears, Yuko honored her sister's last wish, assisted by a loyal Aizu soldier. Nakano Takeko's head was laid to rest beneath a maple tree at Hokai Temple. A monument honoring Nakano Takeko stands beside her grave at Hokai Temple, a tribute overseen in part by Dewa Shigeto, an Aizu native and admiral of the Imperial Japanese Navy. Each year, during the Aizu Autumn Festival, a procession of young girls dressed in hakama and white headbeads pay homage to Nakano and her band of women warriors. Though Nakano and her companions were officially instructed by their commanders to remain behind the lines, she refused to stay idle. When the moment came, she donned her armor, took up her naginata, and stepped into battle to defend her province and uphold her honor. This act of defiance, venturing onto the front lines without permission, was a display of bravery that continues to inspire. Nakano Takeko represents one of the last great women of the samurai era, a warrior whose courage and discipline stood firm even as Japan surged forward into modernization. Her death, carried out with the same dignity and resolve that had guided her in life, reflected the samurai code. She refused to let her head fall into enemy hands, ensuring that her honor remained intact, even in defeat. I would like to give a huge thank you to all of my members. Your contribution is valuable to the continuation of the channel, and I appreciate you all immensely. A special thank you to John Sites. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all next week for another History Profile.